Hi there, everybody. It is now the top of the hour, so we're going to get started with our webinar. Hello and welcome to FileHold's webinar workshops. These webinars take place every Wednesday. In these webinars, we're going to be showing you some of FileHold's specific features or provide a general overview of our software product. I'm David Knight, and I'm going to be one of your hosts for today's webinar, along with my colleague, Mr. Chris Oliver. If you're interested in registering for any of our upcoming webinars listed below, you can just go to our homepage and click on the sign up for a webinar link, and you can register for any of those webinars. All right, so at the completion of today's live demo, Chris and I will answer any of your questions that you might have. And at any time, you can type your questions in the chat window and we'll answer and share your questions with the rest of the group at the end of today's live demo. All right, so without any other further delays, we'll begin with a brief intro and then we'll move into the live demo. We like to compare FileHold to an iceberg where above the surface only a portion of our features are visible and actually being used by our customers. However, if you delve below the surface, you'll see that FileHold contains a wide array of features that are used to help store and manage your documents securely. In today's public webinar, we're going to be looking at our latest feature, the Customer Forms Portal, or CFP, and we're going to show you this feature, which can help with the processing and storage of forms and other related documents in your office or department. Forms are one of the most common ways that businesses use to gather data. Forms can be used to collect information both internally within your own business or externally from your clients or customers. They're also convenient, manageable, and allow users to provide important information for you. However, storing and processing paper forms is not an ideal solution. It's inefficient use of office space, not to mention the cost of storing documents off-site. Your documents can be damaged or destroyed. What if there is a fire or a flood? What can you do then? Manual paper processes are slow and inefficient. Your documents are not stored securely. And finally, there's no method of checking if your info is current or even up to date. The CFP provides a simple and convenient way for you to transfer documents electronically. The Forms portal allows you to upload and download documents similar to using a bank machine to deposit or withdraw your money. Once documents are uploaded into the CFP, they are transferred into FileHold's repository, where they are stored securely and can be searched quickly or circulated internally for review and approval. All right, so now we're going to move into the demo portion, and you're going to be able to see how the CFP works. So I'm going to turn the controls now over to Chris, who will take you through a live demo of FileHold. So Chris, are you ready to get going, sir?
Yes, I am.
All right, so I'm going to give you the controls so we can see your screen and you can start the demo. So I'm going to give you the controls now.
Still sticking with us today. That's great. First of all, thank you so much for coming out and attending. We're really proud of this new feature that we're offering with FileHold, and we think it's going to be just an exciting option to offer to not only our existing clients, but as a new opportunity to help bring forms in. So let's start off with I'm using my web browser right now. I'm just opening the web, and what I'm going to access is actually accessible by anybody who needs to. But I'm going to show you some different ways that we're going to play with it. So I'm going to go over here to my link, and I'm going to hop over to our Customer Forms portal. And this is what it looks like. So what we've done is we've created a temporary for pure demonstrations for Lakeside Community, which is our fictitious municipality. And here they need in order to share some forms outwards. We have our Customer Forms portal. Now the central part over here that you're seeing with the login, register, submit forms, download forms, all of that is the actual portal itself. The top up here and the bottom, that top, the upper header and the banner at the bottom, those are just HTML. So they're highly adaptable. We can put in pretty much whatever you want. It's very simple to work with. It's actually so simple that even someone like myself was able to do it, and I'm not a tech person. So it's very easy to work with, and you don't need a huge technical experience. Now in the central area, we've got our buttons, for instance, to log in, to register, to submit our forms, to download the forms, all key pieces of information. You've also got a help icon. And again, this is totally customizable. So we can jump over to the help in order to take a look at any of the information you might want to prompt to your customers or to your clients or anybody who might have to access this. So again, completely customizable, something that you can create within your own world. Now, I just want to take you through some of these buttons here. And right now, I'm going to be working as an anonymous user. So I'm not actually registered or logged in. We've customized this right now to make that accessible. But if that's something you'd want to turn off so that people would have to register to access, you absolutely can. Now, if I click over here on download forms, it's going to show me some of the different form areas that I can work with. And this has been designed to be able to select by program. So in this case, we've created a few temporary programs, such as things you might want to look for from a municipality, building permits, passport application, job application, special event permit, pet license, and then all the different documents that are available in one spot. So when I click on any of these, it then shows me the documents that are available. In this case, a building permit. And if I move to another area, passport application, it's got my passport application I can download. Job applications gives me a little bit more, including not only my job information form, but also an emergency medical exam form if I needed to grab that as well. So there's so more than one document can be available. That's also true with the special event permits over here. We have both a special event and a small event application, so two different kind of documents. And we've got our pet license, which I'll be playing with a little bit more later for showing how these work. And then finally, all documents, which gives me a summary of all of them in one page. Now from this, if I wanted to, I could select the document and then I could view it if I wanted to. Now, for those of you who've used FileHold before, this is going to be familiar to you. This is the FileHold viewer. So we're actually opening up this document so you can preview it from there. So in this case, we've got our form that's been stored into the system, and I can close that out when I'm finished with it. And I can deselect that from the checkbox, and then I'm back to where I was. If I want to navigate back over to the home screen, I can just click that here, then it takes me back to this area. Now, as I say, we've set this up so that you can submit forms anonymously, but of course, that's something you can turn on or off, and that's part of our exploration with you when we start learning about how you need to use the CFP. If I go to submit forms, this is going to allow me then to do the same thing where I can select the program, then navigate down, choose what area I want to, and then add my file in. And I can do that from a drag and drop, or I can do that from navigating those selecting files by choosing where I want to go within my own workstation. So again, don't need to do that right now. And then go back to the home page, just click here. Now, if you never used this before, you'd probably need to register. So I can click on the registration button and it takes me over to here, and then I can put in first name, last name, any of my particulars. And this is going to go to FileHold for approval first before it comes back. And when I say to FileHold, that's going to your FileHold repository. You don't need us involved in this in any way. This is your system. So that you can deal with your registration users however you need to. And it's actually very easy to set up what these categories are. And I'm going to show you all of that back end in a moment. But for now, I just want to show you what this registration is going to look like. Let's go back to the home page. So now let's actually use the portal in the way it's intended to, because I'm already a registered user, so I'm going to log in. And because my web browser has saved my identity in the system, I can see my email address is already in there, my password's in there, so I can go ahead and click the login. But notice that I also have the option of saying I need to reset my password, so your users can make that request back and say, hey, I need to get a new password into here, and they can do that. And actually, a lot of that can be done in the background. You don't actually need to be involved with it. But again, it's we can configure that depending on what you need for your individual use case, and we'll want to explore that with you. Notice we still got that help icon up here, so we can always jump over to that if we need to. But let's go ahead and log into the system, and it's going to remember me as a user. So it greets me with, hello, Chris Oliver, and then it shows me any documents that I may have already uploaded into the system. So not only is it showing me, it's personally identifying, but it's also showing me anything that I may have already put into the CFP. So it's remembered those points of information, which can be very, very important. Now, this is actually reading from FileHold, and again, I'll take you through all of that back end later on. Now, just like before, I can go to download forms. It remembers me in this page. I can select my program, choose the document that I'm looking for, select it, and download. Now this is going to download through my web browser. So it's going to use whatever settings I have. In this case, it's going to send me over to where I'm keeping my forms, and then I could save this and it's available for me. And then I can edit this using my workstation. So let's say I want to do that. I go over and I open up my document. Within this case, I'm using Adobe because it's a PDF. It's an e-form. You can see I've already been working on this. I didn't want to have to make people wait while I type everything out. And now we're going to put in the information. The only thing I'm missing here is my dog's name. So let's give it a name. So we'll call it Dwight because I'm just choosing something seemingly at random. And I'm going to go ahead and save this document. So I'm saving this as a PDF. Again, not involved with the portal, not involved with FileHold, not involved with anything else. We're going to go ahead and save this. And in fact, let's go ahead and save this as, and we can give this a name for ourselves because it doesn't matter. And I'm going to say, this is my pet license application from Chris, because we just want to have a name for that, and I save it onto my desktop, and I'm completed with this. And I don't actually need Adobe anymore. I can close that out. Now I'm going to go back. So again, we're in the CFP, and we're going to go back. Now we're going to submit document. So I'm going to select that. First thing I have to do is select the program. So I'm going to come down here to my pet licenses, and now I can add my document in. So I can take my document. So here's the pet license application from Chris. And I'm just going to drag and drop this right into the portal. And it said uploaded successfully. It gives me a preview of the document so I can see all the information there. I'm quite happy with this. If at this point I needed to make a change to this, I could remove the document by hitting the X. I could select a different file if I wanted to add it, but the portal says it's done, it's ready to go, and I can go ahead and click submit. And then the portal is going to bring that document into the system. So it's added that into the FileHold repository and gives me a notice saying you've successfully submitted your documents. A representative will contact you within 2 business days. And again, all of that text can be fit to purpose. So we don't need that to, you don't need, if you're looking at this and going, yeah, we're not going to get to that in 2 business days, we're going to get to that within 2 hours, then you can absolutely change the language on this. It's, again, this is something we can do to fine tune this to match your needs. All right, from here I could click on return to home page or click the home up here, or because I'm a responsible computer user, I'm going to go ahead and log out. You'll also notice here you get into my account settings if I want to, so I've got that as an option. So from over here I could come into this and I could set a new password for myself if I wanted to, or reconfigure any of these details. The gray areas are ones that I'm not able to make changes on because they've been locked into the system that way. So in this case I could update if I made any changes, but for now I'm just going to be a responsible user and I'm going to log myself out. And we're back to the home screen. Now for your customer, that's as much of the interaction as they're ever going to need. They don't actually see the rest of the mechanics that are hidden in behind here. Now, I think we have a lot of people on the call today who are FileHold users, and that's fantastic because I want to show you, your FileHold just like you've always seen it, but let's see it with that document into place. So I'm going to come over to my web client. I think everyone should know what the FileHold web client looks like. And we can see that I've created an area over here for customer service portal or customer forms portal. In this particular iteration, we called it service portal, but it's the forms portal. And there's a bunch of different areas that I have over here. Now, for those of you who maybe haven't used FileHold before, I'm just going to give a very quick overview of what we're seeing. We've got our library locations over here, different spots where I'm storing documents, in our cabinets, in our drawers, and in our folders. We've tagged these documents with schema or a document use type to indicate how we're planning on using them. We've got a search bar up here if I need to do any further diving into the informations. If I needed to, I could open up and look at the metadata or file properties or any of these documents just by opening up. It looks like I timed out because I spent too long in the first part of the demo. So let's just do a refresh. Again, FileHold security, making sure that nobody's got unauthorized access to an unattended computer. So making sure that your documents are kept safe. We can look at the metadata for one of these documents if we want to see any of the details in the background, such as, if I needed to put in the name of the event or the organization, all of those fields of information. Here's that pet application. This is the form that I directly downloaded from the CFP onto my workstation. So this is that same form, and it's going to be looking for things when I add it in. Automated metadata extraction. It's a key part of a PDF form. It means that when I add that form in, we're going to read that information right off of there. We're going to read my first name and last name, my address, the pet name, the breed, any of the markings. That's what I decided was important metadata for this document in order to help me sort and organize and find the things I need. Now, these are just the forms in the system. This is not me actually having submitted anything in. So to do that, I can hop over to here and take a look at submitted via portal. So I can see these are where the documents came in. Now, because this was a PDF, we had an e-form, we had a rule applied to it to extract that metadata. So extraction rules applied. We also did an auto-filing rule on that document at the same time, so it placed it in the right spot. This is where I asked it to go. Now, I could have put the CFP pet license documents, I could have put that in its own folder. I could have done additional auto-filing, like put it in the folder and use the last name of the person who's doing the applicant to put it into this place. And if that name's not there, make sure to put it in another place so that you can reference it later. You see, I've got a default section over here where I can send my documents in case one of your customers doesn't fill in the information correctly. We all know that can happen. So you want to make sure that you're not being punished for that. Notice the timestamp on this. It says 3:13 p.m. We're at 3:17 p.m. right now, so 4 minutes ago is when I submitted this form into there. And we've got our name Dwight onto this. We've used that name, we've used that information that's on that form to rename the document so that we've got it in an organized fashion. So my last name of the applicant, mine, first name of the, or name of the pet, and then the breed, just to make sure we had that tagged into there. So I can see that information nice and visually onto here. I don't have to worry about doing any further work. Now, if I wanted to, I could right click onto this document and I could again take a look at the metadata for it. So I can see what information we've skimmed off of it. We can see there's first name, last name, address, and all those points of information automatically brought into the system. As well, we've got some additional process that we put onto here. So we can see when it was last modified, when it was created, all of that vital administrative metadata that's been brought into the document to make sure it's under control. Now you can see I've got some other forms that are in here, including that building permit. Remember, we saw that when I signed in. So we're remembering who the users are by assigning some kind of identifying features to them so we know whose documents they actually are. Now we also have, within these extraction rules applied, we can do some additional processing on this. And that's actually what I've done here. And if I hop up to this here, we're going to see that a task has been assigned to me. Those of you who use workflow, you might remember that we can have workflow automatically start off. And that's exactly what we've done here. As soon as I added that document into the system, I automatically started a workflow on it. So I would have been notified, hey, by the way, a document's been added into the system and it's now accessible for you. And if you want to see, I can even get an email that's sent out. And here's what that email looks like saying, by the way, here's your workflow that's gone out. Notice 3:14 p.m., about a minute after the task was assigned. So the only reason it didn't come out instantly is because of the speed of my Exchange server. So very, very quickly to get these notifications out. You could know instantly when your customers or one of your clients or anybody who you need to submit those forms has sent them in. You can get this workflow notification. As a user, I could subscribe to this folder if I wanted to. Let's go back into FileHold here. So I could subscribe to one of these folders. So I could say, by the way, alert me of any changes. So when someone adds a document in, I can get an alert. I can then look at that document and say, yes, this looks good. And I can start a workflow on my own. So I could select the document and I could put this through its own workflow process if I wanted to. So again, using that utility that FileHold has to be able to find the information that you're looking for. As soon as the documents come into the system, we're also going to be adding the content of that into our search index. So if I wanted to come up over to here, I could come into the search screen if I wanted, so I can click onto there. That's going to load up search, and it's going to load this to me as a basic search, so I could type in any of the values I wanted to. Or I can go into advanced search and I can say, and instead of just showing me some generic information, I want something very specific because I know what kind of forms these are. So I can dive into this and I can say, I want to take a look at, there's my CFPs. I know that I'm looking for pet license documents. So I can run this through as a search. Let's just go down here. So where's that CFP? We have a lot of different document types in here because we do a lot of different demos and different ends of the software. So you can see that this is very flexible to sort of any kind of document type that we're looking for. So there we go. So search for all documents that are CFP pet licenses and run that as a search. And then it's going to go through the repository, find any of those documents and display the information for me. So right now it's just taking a moment because I'm over in Halifax and our system's quite a ways away from me. So it takes a second for it to come through. So there's all the pet licenses, both the original application form and the one that I just submitted. So these are fully searchable. I could have done the same thing by typing in the word Dwight and having that search run through in order to bring that information back. Or if I was doing a search for Oliver and show all the documents have a last name of Oliver. So if you needed to, for example, instead of searching through the entire repository, you can come into this and say, you know, I'm not looking for just CFP pet licenses, I want the pet name, and you could choose that as a field. And then once that comes up within the search criteria, you could enter in, you know, Dwight and run that search and then find that one document for Dwight because somebody has called and said, hey, does Fido have a pet license? You can do that search for Fido. Or I need to know if Mittens is due for vaccination. If that's something you're tracking, we can keep that information in here. This is a flexible environment designed to match your particular form needs. So you don't have to worry about if we're sitting here and going, yeah, but I'm never going to need a pet license. Any form that you want to add into here, we can integrate into the system. If it's a PDF form, we can apply an extraction rule. If you have a document that's not a form, maybe you've got you know, a standard Word document that you want people to download and then pass back to you. Absolutely. Anything that you can store into FileHold, you could make accessible on the CFP if you wanted to. So we're emphasizing forms here because of its incredible ability to read that information right off of the document, but it's not a limitation. Anything that you can do with a document in FileHold, you can do there. So when the document comes in, you could have somebody review it formally through the workflow, sign off on it, say this is great, and hand it back. So I could then respond back to the applicant to say, yes, this is approved. And you could do that by approving it in the form, sending them off an email and letting them know, by the way, your form is ready to go, everything's great, because you've already captured their email information off of their customer form. You can see over here my list of registered portal users. So let's click over here onto under the CSP registered users. So you can see the different portal users. So if I go into this and I take a look at the metadata for this particular file, this is my registration. So it's got you know, my different email, my email address right here. So I've got that as accessible information. So I could easily contact that registered user back and say, by the way, please let me know about this. And of course, like with everything with FileHold, you could do customized views onto this so you could see that information first and make contact with anyone absolutely easy. So for those of you who are used to FileHold, for those of you who've used this before, we can use all those same abilities within the CFP. So we're really extending that use out and making an easy way for your customers and clients to be able to send those documents back over to you.